Information-fueled.
Opinion-driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
7:07 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Really appreciate you joining us here for this Monday, July 14th of 2025. By the way, EJ Antoni is going to be joining us here at 7:36. Going to talk about all things your money. 7:36. EJ Antoni will be joining us. You've seen him on Fox News and Fox Business, and he also appears with us from time to time. And there is a lot to talk about with EJ. I mean, you want to stay close. We had the big budget surplus for June. Big surprise. First time since 2017. We've got Jerome Powell, Fed chair. Will he or won't he drop those interest rates? It doesn't sound like he's going to. And, of course, we all know about the tax breaks embedded in the big, beautiful bill. So we have a lot to speak with EJ about coming up at 7:35 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, Alligator Alcatraz is in the news. So Debbie Wasserman Schultz visited the facility. This was over the weekend. And this is what she had to say.
Governor DeSantis, do you have a comment about Florida Democrats filing a lawsuit over not being granted access to Alligator Alcatraz? Actually,
that was a reporter asking Ron DeSantis about these Democrats demanding. In matter of fact, they submitted a lawsuit demanding that they be able to get into Alligator Alcatraz. And the thing that I thought was interesting was that there was no reason for them to file the lawsuit. As DeSantis says, we had already scheduled a time for everyone to come in. This is from CBS. 5 Democrats filing a lawsuit because they said that they were being denied access to Alligator Alcatraz. And by the way, this is big news today. The 5 Democratic lawmakers attempting to enter the facility July 3rd, they were denied entrance for what officials there claimed were safety concerns that the Democratic lawmakers say they were never identified to them. Whatever the supposed security concerns were, the Democrats say, well, they never told us what they were. Their attempts to visit the facility came 2 days after Donald Trump, Governor DeSantis, and several other state Republican officials held a tour and roundtable discussion at the center with members of the media. So they had the opportunity to visit Alligator Alcatraz, but for whatever reason, they chose not to attend when Donald Trump literally was giving personal tours. And instead, they said, no, we want to come on our day. And then they filed a lawsuit. And so Governor DeSantis is like, yeah, this is a bunch of BS.
You know that it was announced that there's going to be tours on Saturday, all legislators, state and federal. So that was announced. And then what did they do the next day? They filed a frivolous lawsuit saying we're not having access when they were obviously granted access. So this is frivolous litigation. This is a ridiculous lawsuit. First of all, they don't have a right to win even if we didn't grant access because they're misapplying statutes. They should be sanctioned by the court for abusing the legal system. They should seek sanctions in the defense, and a judge should award sanctions against these guys. They're posturing politically. But I would say this, Democrats care more about illegal aliens than they do about American citizens. Yep. I've never seen these Democrats fight this hard.
Remember, this is all performative. And that is Governor DeSantis saying, oh, this is all just a bunch of BS. Now, the only thing missing here is AOC crying in front of an empty parking lot. Dressed in all white, bright red lipstick, you know that's coming. So just as a reminder, and we go through this every presidential cycle. Remember when you had Trump first time around and the left freaked out, right? Going back to AOC, freaked out because, oh, the horror, people were in cages. Remember all that? Turns out a lot of those photos were from Obama, and really they were Obama's cages. You have the tinfoil looking blankets. Everybody freaked out about that. Oh, they've got the children. They're sleeping in tinfoil blankets. No, they're called solar blankets or Mylar blankets, and they keep the body cold during the hot weather and hot during the cold weather. That's it. But back during 2021, because remember, this is always going on. Back in 2021, during Joe Biden, Ted Cruz went in to take some pictures of some detainees.
Please give dignity to the people. Please give dignity to the people.
So you work for the commissioner, your senior advisor. You were hired 2 weeks ago, and you're instructed to ask us to not have any pictures taken here.
Please respect the people,
because the political
rules.
leadership at DHS does not want the American people to know it.
Please respect the rules,
You keep
sir.
standing in front of the
So
pictures.
she wouldn't
You
let
don't
Ted
want the
Cruz
pictures
take the photos of these. I remember this from back when. And she's in her little mask, back in 2021, and she refuses to allow Ted Cruz to take photographs. Oh, because, let them have some dignity. Oh, okay. Now, they wouldn't let him. Republicans, of course, pounced. And now we have, here in 2025, Alligator Alcatraz, where Debbie Wasserman Schultz was sounding the alarm.
So they essentially drink, they get their drinking water, and they brush their teeth, where they poop in the same unit. They bragged that they went above standards, supposedly, and gave them a 3-foot privacy wall that stretches the length inside the 32 detainee cage. Okay. A 3-foot privacy wall that stretches the length of the 3 toilets. So they essentially drink, they get their drinking water, and they brush their teeth, where they poop.
So that was, of course, her big message. Now, I'm not sure, but most of these prisons, now I've never been, Joni, have you ever been in prison?
Yeah, no, have not.
Okay, so most of the prisons these days, from what I understand, because I've seen photographs, you've got a little toilet sink unit. I mean, it's like right there in the cell. And so that's what being in jail or a detention facility is all about. I mean, sadly, okay, you're going to go to the bathroom and you've got basically the water unit right there. You've got the toilet, you've got the sink, and that's where you brush your teeth. That's the way it is in prison. I don't know what else to tell you, Debbie. I think Uncle Phil used to call her was a man. I think he did. But this isn't the Ritz-Carlton, though. That's what I'm trying to say. This is a detention facility. This is where we keep bad guys. This is where we keep people that we are looking to deport. In Alligator Alcatraz, these are gang members. These are people who have done really bad things. And by the way, I would also say that sometimes, in many small homes, guess what? In many townhomes, my townhome used to have one of these where you have really small bathrooms. It's like a hallway bathroom where you've got the sink right next to the toilet. And so, yeah, you could see someone brushing their teeth right there next to the toilet. But for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, it's just she is hysterically talking about the conditions, she says, deplorable conditions in this Alligator Alcatraz. And to me, it's just the American people. Here's what I'm going to say. The American people don't care if they have to brush their teeth like next to the toilet. They don't care. You know what the American people want? They want these people out. That's what they want. 7:15, time to check the roads on WTN. To 7:16, as far as your weather goes, a high today of 90, possible thunderstorms as well. By the way, with the return of Joan today, she was gone on Friday. The return of Joan today means we'll go ahead and have the return of the hot and sticky forecast.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
There'll be
good.
plenty of that.
Mm-hmm. So, again, the small bathrooms, Debbie Wasserman Schultz freaking out about all of this.
Dan, you know what bugs me about this whole story?
What's that?
The beginning of this was that the press, the media, especially the long-term media, have taken the word of the people who are inside the prison as it being the
gospel.
Right. It's whatever they say. Like, would you ask people in the insane asylum whether or not everybody else is insane?
Right.
What are we doing here?
Well, that was going to be part of my presentation. You beat me to it, but you're absolutely right. No. It's great. I love when you do that because you're right. Everybody's thinking the same thing. Where did the media, and because the media is asking people from the inside where, what the conditions are like. Of course, they're going to say that it sucks. Of course they are.
And their food is not very good,
No, the food's not very good. Wasserman Schultz, she did talk about how there's no privacy in the showers.
The showers provide no privacy at all. There are no curtains on it. It's a big open shower unit. There are, small walls in each shower. But, we're talking about all 900 men who are held in this facility. It is built currently for 1,000, and they have no privacy at all when they're showering.
So I don't know, Joan, if you played high school sports, but I did. And
right.
I remember Charter Oak High School, and I don't know if it's changed, but you had just a big, wide stall of showers with nothing in the middle. I mean, it's just like everybody saw everybody else in showering after football practice. And I'm going to tell you, I hated it. I absolutely hated it, but I got used to it, whatever. And so I don't know. I saw this and, my shoulders are up around my ears. It's like, well, sorry, man. But again, this is not the Ritz-Carlton. This is a detention center. This is effectively, you can call it a jail, a prison, whatever you want to say. But this is something that the American people voted for. These are all, by and large, gang members. So, I'm sorry if, these people have crossed the desert to sneak into America a number of different times, then come in, break our laws. Oh, and they don't have any privacy in the showers? Please. By the way, talking about lunch, listen to this.
Portions that were available for detainees, and they had the portions that were available for employees being prepared at the same time. The portions available for employees, large pieces of roast chicken, large sausages, and the detainees' lunches were a small, gray turkey and cheese sandwich, an apple, and chips. And that's it. So,
okay, so I want to make sure we get this right. So the people, she's upset, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she's upset because the people that work at the facility have a really nice meal. And then the people that are there that broke laws and we're going to deport and so on, they get, what was it? A gray turkey sandwich.
Yes, a gray turkey sandwich.
Is it turkey gray? Like, what would you call? What's the color? What's the color of like
to the brownish, not brown, but like tannish side?
Yeah. So I mean, gray turkey sandwich. Do you know what? Honestly, Joan, that's what my mother would give me in my lunch when I was a kid. You know what I mean? Now I understand Wasserman Schultz's point. These are grown men. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. The grown men who are effectively, gangbangers and prisoners and so forth, their meal is not going to be as good as the people that are working there. Sorry, the staff, they haven't broken laws. They're not the ones that are being punished. That would be the inmates. Do you know, Joan? It was that great philosopher, I believe his name was Phil Collins, who once sang,
"You can't hurry love."
No, it's no fun being an illegal alien.
That's true.
This is the life that they chose. Sorry. From CBS News, detainees have said that they've gone days without showering, toilets don't work, and fluctuating temperatures inside of the facility. I would have to ask the question, okay, is it, because it's a whole bunch of different buildings, right? So is it every building? Remember, they had air conditioners all over the place. So we all know that these detainees, and you hit the nail on the head, Joan, where the detainees, they're going to exaggerate, they're going to gaslight. So to be honest, I'm going to dismiss anything that Debbie Wasserman Schultz or any Democrat or any detainee says. I just don't care.
Isn't the point of prison to make it so that you don't want to be there?
Yes, that's exactly right. As I said, it's not supposed to be the Ritz-Carlton. Case in point, I don't have time to do this now. Coming up, I'll play some audio from Dana Bash talking to Tom Homan about the conditions inside of Alligator Alcatraz. And by the way, Kristi Noem says there are going to be more Alligator Alcatrazes on the way. Cannot wait for that. Also, have you seen what Donald Trump wants to do with Rosie O'Donnell?
Oh, no.
Donald Trump. Now, I'm just going to tell you in advance, I get the spirit of what the president is saying. He does things, obviously, to get a reaction. Donald Trump, Truth Social. Because of the fact that Rosie O'Donnell is not in the best interest of our great country, I am giving serious consideration to taking away her citizenship.
Oh, come on.
Okay, right. She lives in Ireland, but, I don't see her itching to come back. But he does say she is a threat to humanity and should remain in the wonderful country of Ireland. If they want her, God bless America. I think he's just messing around.
Oh,
I think he's just messing around.
You know how he does that.
Oh yeah, he's just. You know what? And I'm looking for some audio. Nobody can seem to find the audio of her responding to being, threats of not being allowed to come back. But listen, if all goes well, we'll get J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio as the next president, and then maybe J.D. Vance after that. Who knows? But, the reality is that if she's not going to come back like ever, which I would prefer, then her citizenship doesn't matter, right? But I find that, if she wants to sit in Ireland and stay in Ireland and feed the squirrels, she can go right on ahead and feed. It's like a daily thing with Rosie and the squirrels, I guess, where she feeds these squirrels in Ireland. So whatever. Now, I will say, I think it is silly for Trump to, threaten to revoke her citizenship, because that's not what we do here in America. Unless we're not born in this country, and then we can revoke it that way. We talked about that with the pro-Hamas people on college campuses. But in this case, she was born here. She's decided to go off to Ireland, and she continues to talk about Donald Trump and say all the things that she says. The other day, we were talking about how she had that little video where she's like, come on, America, you know what to do, right? And we pointed out it's a lot of tough talk coming from somebody who literally fled to Ireland. So, no, we're not in the business of revoking somebody's citizenship. However, I will say this, if there was somebody whose citizenship I would like to revoke, let's go ahead and say Rosie O'Donnell, Joy Behar. If we're just going to go down that road.
Ilhan Omar. AOC.
You know what? Send Justin Jones with her back to Somalia. No problem, Justin. If she is, we got to go. 7:25, KGB's getting mad.
Yeah, he is.
7:25, what's coming up?
Got a close call at BNA. Wait till you hear the audio from the control tower coming up here at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:37, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into a Monday. It is July 14th, and welcoming in EJ Antoni to the radio broadcast. EJ, always great to have you on. Folks have seen you on Fox Business, Heritage Foundation as well. And I want to talk a little bit of financial news. Of course, big news on, I guess it was Friday, either Thursday after I got off the show or Friday. But this big budget surplus for the month of June. This was the first time since 2017. Now, what makes this so huge was the projected $41.5 billion deficit. How did this happen?
Great question, Dan. And by the way, I think the story you're referencing is CNBC, if I remember correctly. So I actually went back and looked. It turns out that in 2017, in the month of June, we didn't have a surplus. We still had a deficit. I think you have to go all the way back to 2005 before you find when the month of June was actually in surplus. So shame on CNBC for their bad journalism.
That is where I got that. That's one of my places I go every morning, EJ. So back to 2005, that makes us even more amazing.
Exactly. 2 decades. And okay, but to your question, Dan, how on earth did this happen? 2 big things. Number one, this administration has been successful in getting some expenses down. Now, that's not to say they've gotten, control over government spending. It's still really out of control, but they have done a good job at getting rid of abuse and waste in Social Security, for example. They've done a good job of making sure illegal aliens are not getting welfare. They've done a good job of implementing reforms in HUD, housing and urban development. I mean, I can go on, but they've made a lot of small, they've made progress in a lot of small areas, and that's adding up. So expenses were down. On top of that, revenue is coming in much faster than anticipated. And it is true that import duties are way up. No doubt about it. We had over $20 billion in tariff revenue come in the month of June. But that still is not the biggest contributor. The biggest increases were in things like personal and corporate income taxes. In other words, the economy is doing much better than anticipated, and so people are paying more in taxes.
So that you and I spoke. You do a ton of interviews, but you and I actually spoke exactly about this this scenario or situation when we're talking about the big beautiful bill. In other words, people, because they have some confidence in the economy, they're going out, they are spending, and that means that sales tax revenue is coming in as well. And so for the American people, they're happily going out and they're spending money and they're paying and buying things, and that means the economy continues to churn.
Exactly. And what happens is this kind of becomes a positive feedback loop. People are out there spending more. And so what does the businessman do? He looks at the situation and says, wow, I need to expand. I'm selling out all of my inventory. I need to buy more. I need to hire an extra person to help me stock the shelves. Or even if it's not physical products, even if it's services, I need an additional person in my sales department or wherever the case may be. He's now hiring another person. Another person now has a job. That means that they're going to be paying income taxes. The businessman himself is going to be paying more in income taxes because he's earning more, et cetera. And so what happens is you end up again, it becomes a positive feedback loop where the good economic data coming in reinforces itself and turns into even better economic data in the future, and so on and so on.
One of the things I find interesting, I don't know what the futures are right now. I know that earlier they were down. President Trump threatening again tariffs and all of that, and without getting into all the details of the tariffs, because it's kind of another conversation. But what I'm noticing is that it's always the same, where you have the president threatening tariffs, you have the futures, ultimately end up, down, and the market has a couple of bad days. But then at the end of the day, when all of the dust is settled, it seems like things eventually end up on the positive side, despite the fact that the media, they're always out there, sort of doom reporting, if you will, on the economy.
Right. Well, let me put it this way. CNBC's accuracy when it comes to reporting trade deficits is about the same as their accuracy when it comes to reporting the effects of all these tariffs. At the end of the day, if you actually had all of the tariffs implemented that have been threatened, it would certainly have a negative impact on the economy, at least in the short run. But what everyone seems to fail to realize is the fact that other nations would have just as bad, if not worse, impacts on their own economies if these tariffs got implemented. And so whenever these tariffs get threatened, it eventually brings nations back to the negotiating table. Look at what just happened to Canada, literally a matter of days ago, not even a month ago. They threatened a digital service tax that would basically have worked like a tariff on American tech companies. And so the president said, that's it. We're done talking with you guys. You're not negotiating in good faith if you're going to levy additional tariffs on us, let alone, fail to reduce the tariffs that you have. And so Canada immediately backed down. They have canceled that digital services tax, and they are now back at the negotiating table. That's what people have to realize is going on here. It is a constant back and forth, and the president knows he is holding all the cards in this game of poker with other world leaders.
Can I just add, this may be a dumb question, but doesn't Canada know better than to try to, I don't know, were they trying to sneak it in past Trump, or what was that?
No, it's not a dumb question at all, because you have to look at all these world leaders and say, all right, all of you guys must know at the end of the day, you can't go toe-to-toe with the United States in a trade war. You will lose more than we will. But at the same time, everyone is sitting there wondering, okay, is the president really willing to go toe-to-toe with us? Because that would do harm in the United States. It'll do more harm in their country, but it will hurt us too. And so, again, it's kind of like a scenario you had in the Cold War, where both the Soviets and the United States are sitting there wondering, okay, how much can I get away with before the other country is going to push back? That's the kind of game that everyone is playing right now.
Love it. All right, 7:45. I've got a couple more questions for EJ Antoni straight ahead after the traffic on WTN. As far as your weather, high of 90 to 92 degrees, possible thunderstorms as well. EJ Antoni, Fox News, Fox Business, of course, Heritage Foundation as well, is our guest. Talking about your money, interest payments on the national debt, EJ, of course, in America. I guess it's our second largest expense at the federal level. Will these tariffs... No, go ahead. If I'm wrong, go ahead, because I got that from CNBC. So maybe that's wrong.
Yeah,
but.
Well, see, and once again, you can't trust these folks. It's unbelievable. No, so I'm really glad you mentioned this, Dan, because in the month of June, for the first time ever, interest on the debt actually became the Treasury's single largest line item in their monthly statement. That's terrible.
Okay. So the question is, will these tariffs help to lower, at the end of the day, years from now, is this going to lower that debt and deficit?
I think so, absolutely, for two reasons. One, it is going to bring in additional revenue. This is a tax on imports. Now, most of that tax is going to fall on foreigners. Some is going to fall on domestic consumers. The exact ratio there depends on the product in question. But whatever the case, this is already bringing in more revenue. That will continue to happen. So if you have more money coming in, that will reduce the deficit. At the same time, it is incentivizing production here in the United States. That means more stuff produced here. It means more people employed here. That means more businesses paying taxes, and it means more income, which means more income taxes, both on the business and on the consumer side. So all that combined means you're increasing revenue to the Treasury on multiple fronts. That does help reduce the deficit.
Well, it's all in I'm just going to give you props, EJ, because you helped me to understand that what President Trump is trying to do to help our economy is multi-layered. There's a whole bunch of things in this cauldron. There are the tariffs that, of course, brings in revenue, but it also means that we're manufacturing more as well. That means more people are working, they are spending. There is also, of course, the big, beautiful bill, which is now law. And embedded in the big, beautiful bill is a ton of tax breaks for all Americans. Talk about what people can look forward to, and I know that it's going to be a minute before the whole thing is is taking effect. But I mean, there's something for everybody in the big beautiful bill.
Well, certainly, and you're right. Some of it is going to wait until 2026 to take effect, but some of it actually just took effect immediately, and in fact, it's retroactive for the year. In other words, people who back in February or March, businesses that were spending money on research and development, or they started building a factory, let's say, so that they could produce stuff here in the United States again, those folks are now going to have increased tax deductions, even though, again, they already made those decisions back in February or March. So you're going to see some immediate impact there. But the other thing that you're going to see, or maybe I should say not see, is a huge tax increase next year. A big part of this bill was preventing a $4 trillion tax increase on the American middle class that would have started in 2026. So some of it is going to be, yes, you're seeing positive changes, but some of it is also going to be you're not seeing negative changes, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. So, and again, the big impacts here are going to be on things like businesses being able to deduct more of I should say more of the expenses of the positive decisions that they're making. That's good for economic growth, but also on the individual side, folks who have tipped income or folks who work overtime, This is a huge encouragement for those folks to be more productive, to work more, to earn more. This is a classic supply side tax cut. And so I'm very, very optimistic about the positive benefits that are going to stem from it.
All right, real quick, last question. Trump keeps asking Fed Chair Jerome Powell to drop interest rates. He won't. And I mean, people are saying, well, can he fire Jerome Powell? I guess what's your overall impression of that dynamic? I mean, it does seem to me, as clearly a financial layman, that it would be better for the economy if interest rates were dropped. What's he waiting for, Jerome Powell?
I think he's waiting for the end of his term, quite frankly. There's a lot of animosity between him and Trump. Most of that is undeserved. Some of it is deserved. But whatever the case, there's a lot of animosity there. And I think that Powell just has no intention of cutting rates at this point, so long as Trump is at the helm. And that's really unfortunate because there's an increasing amount of evidence that says that interest rates should be lower. I mean, at the end of the day, the Fed really shouldn't be setting interest rates at all, right? The market should be setting rates. The Fed should be following the market, not trying to lead it around by the nose. But whatever the case, I think as that evidence mounts, there's going to be increasing calls for Powell to resign. He probably won't. And it is possible for the president to remove a Fed chair for cause, as they say. I think there is cause for him to be removed. He has made a lot of mistakes. He helped give us the fastest increase in inflation and interest rates in 4 decades. On top of that, the Federal Reserve was actually illegally funding the CFPB. I mean, I can go on and on here. He helped cause a regional banking crisis starting in the spring of 2023. Again, we can go on and fill an hour talking about Powell's mistakes. But whatever the case, if the White House eventually wants to play hardball, there probably is enough there to actually kick Powell out.
All right, we'll leave it there. EJ Antoni joining us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. EJ, always great to have you on for some financial clarity. 7:52 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones has the news coming up at 8 o'clock. Joan.
Yeah, so who was it alongside President Trump at an appearance over the weekend? Also, the local school district that's making parents more responsible for getting their kids to and from school. We've got that and more coming up at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.